be reading from I guess the last thing that was written for the book. It's kind of my homage to the pillow book of Station Agon. It's called Bolster. Things that convey hope of the possibility of happiness forthcoming. The morning after, one more spin, once more around, one more. Don't you pay them no mind. The brief window the newly in love find when they are shown who they should be. Proceeding with the day or even knowing that the other will cancel or simply not show which does happen and does not. The director asking, how many props are necessary to pull off sorrow? Googling insomnia in the middle of the night. From which at altitude one looks like a weed in a field of weeds, an ineloquent dot asleep in a dream. The passage of time, the passing of life, the days, the countless hours and minutes and seconds, the sweep of the clock's second hand. The glass half empty or half full in the dishwasher. Are we made of stories, or are we made of facts, and which builds better? The stories of evidence and archive, or the ones built from each living and dying cell of your body? The story of a life is constructed together in relationships. The people close to us, family, friends, lovers, colleagues, enemies even, become the mirrors and journal in which we recall and inscribe our history. They are the instruments that help us know ourselves and remember ourselves, and we do the same for them. But stories wear out, erode. You leave them behind in an old apartment under the sink in the back of a cab squashed between the seat cushions. Or the story loses its legs, its lungs, its meaning, holding it aloft wavers, flinches too much, gets outdated. Over time, you become someone else. The story suffers from too much light, too much darkness, from the constant poking and peeling over familiarity. And what is left but all those dark eyes staring back at us? Look at the pictures, look in the archives, look in the footnotes, look at the souvenirs, look in the mirror and all the reflective surfaces. Things one might take to be a sign of great meaning and significance but are really unremarkable and inconsequential. Double rainbows, two-headed calves, feral parrots rousting in the palm trees at first light, butterflies at night, a long shriveled plant coming back to life, seeing the number 11 in ones and zeros in various permutations, finding pennies on the street or in cracked spaces, dreams where every fauna talked to you, dreams of financial riches, all nightmares induced by eating mission burritos before bedtime, roadkill. So what happens after good night? What happens after good night? What happens after the bedtime story? We imagine apocalypse because it was easier than the complicated futures that lay ahead. A future fraught with baffling new technologies, impenetrable financial power structures, ever-shifting alliances and collapsing social systems, perplexing malevolent microorganisms, and a language devolving and impotent. Death was more imaginable than the person that all the decisions and burdens of adulthood and survival would make of us. Charging bullishly into life with all barrels loaded without the fear of consequences was an act of desperation. Though at the time some might have mistaken it for fearlessness, youthful prerogative, or selfish immaturity. It was a declaration that there were more terrible things than death. There were desires so urgent for anesthesia, distraction, the dark brooding forces of need, the quelling of survivors' guilt. There were corrections so grave to undertake, the defying of fate's gauntlet, the descent against conformity and apathy, the mutiny against the downward spiral of despair and our inherited pessimism. Gambling, drug-taking, and love were our rituals of hope, but all hope suffers from its own insufficiency. Failure was our tutor and guide, what we mostly learned from. Things I didn't know I loved: silence, solitude, uncomplicatedness, the desert as much as the sea, mornings as much as night, winter storms, and home. Things I know I appreciate. 2-ply toilet paper, stoicism, the nature of cats, good food in good company, good books, common sense, the subtleties and contradictions, the ridiculousness and ironies, the surprises and perfections that lay like bear traps in any life. Time of my own, a finely aged and hard-earned cynicism, one that hasn't turned bitter or festered into meanness. Kindness of strangers and not strangers. I once knew someone who took snapshots of each of his trick's assholes. He compiled these photos in dozens of photo albums, the kind of the puffy, hard cardboard leather covers. And this was before digital cameras, and he shot these with a regular 35mm camera, which meant that these rolls of film had to go somewhere to be developed. In this digital age, anytime you go online or any hookup site, sometimes not even, you're simply confronted by greasy butthole shots. Whether you want to look or not, even if you avert your eyes, there they are, just waiting to slap you in the face like a clammy washcloth. So it's no small wonder that this man possibly had the largest collection of pre-digital greasy butthole shots in the world. Flipping through those albums, and when the pages were opened and laid out, opened out end to end, I remember thinking first that it looked like not unlike the bed of a coral reef. Some pages later, it began to look like some meaty new wave paint chip sample, a color hue of browns, pale orange earth tones, and mauve that you wouldn't want on any wall. This man that I knew also happened to die very suddenly of a heart attack, and was left to his college-aged twin sons from an earlier, straighter life to come and clean out his downtown apartment. I'm sure there's a story in there somewhere, I just don't want to look. Disturbing and unsettling snatches of conversation overheard at a sex party. I don't want to go home to your toys. Mostly single. Fuck my angry he cunt. What should we do with the body? Start wiping off fingerprints. Accidentally shit myself behind the... My therapist says it's okay. Stop touching me. Oh, I'm still in high school. Places in someone else's apartment one ought not to hide or dispose of one's used syringes or points. On top of the bathroom vanity, between books on the bookshelf, under the bed, in the cat litter box, in potted plants, in the drywall, behind heavy immovable furniture, in the cistern, underneath the cupboard in far corners of the room. We tell ourselves stories to live, so begins Joan Didion's brilliant essay, The White Album. It's a line oft-quoted by readers and writers of all manner of folk. Much less frequently quoted, however, are the final words of the essay, which read, and writing has not helped me see it clearly. But it did, of course. We lie to ourselves and to others because lies make for some of the most entertaining and endearing and fantastic stories. The act is even built into the name of the enterprise, fiction. But as the writer says, I don't lie, I just stretch the truth. We tell ourselves lies because we can, and because people believe us. A lie requires that belief, that paying trust. If someone knows you're lying, then it's a fail. It's then not so much as a lie as it is a bland untruth and inaccuracy, a downgrade. See how this works in regular life. We're often told that smoking crystal meth turns the user into a different person. Not quite as thrilling as The Exorcist, unfortunately, not quite at all. It merely turns the user into someone he's long wanted to be, something he's thought about being and doing, but this way with the rationale and exit strategies put in place just in case. Consider in the long history of the drug, the different person that emerges is always either criminal or slut, or very often both. You'd think that for a drug that's been around for close to a century, that someone, just one person, might have turned into something interesting, like a world-class plate-spinning vaudeville act, or a contortionist, or the Vladimir Horowitz of the Recorder, or one of those clowns that does tricks with mathematics, or anything other than the criminal fuck-up who's about to steal your iPad after shagging you. We tell ourselves lies because we are the only ones who can fool ourselves. Do you have any enemies? Are you anyone's enemy? What is your feeling of revenge? Given the opportunity without reprisals, would you? Is vengeance mine or yours? What is your feeling about karma? Karma chameleon, you come and go? Eye for an eye or turn the other cheek? Cheek to cheek or tit for tat? Measure for measure or give an inch? Take the mile or stand your ground? Is forgiveness really divine? Can you forgive someone who doesn't believe he has wronged you? Can you forgive someone who hasn't asked for forgiveness? How many times can you apologize for the same wrongdoing? Divine retribution or human payback? Forgive and forget or forget about it? Would you feel better if there was a punishment involved? Or would it just feel petty and spiteful? Hanging or stoning, caning or beating? When is an apology not an apology? Is a reluctant apology or a mandated apology still good? Are you sure you're not just being overtly sensitive or petty? What can you not forgive? Is someone forgiving you now? Should you be forgiven? Are apologies ever enough? Look who's sorry now. Does sorry really seem to be the hardest word? What's your apology worth really? Or your forgiveness for that matter? Is the slate ever really wiped clean? Are you having an asthma attack? No, it is not. Surreal, Kafkaesque, epic, the least bit fair, the end of the world, what you need or what you deserve, or untenable. Yes, it is most surely fucked up, a lovely day, a burden to bear, preferably in silence, indefinitely with dignity. One day you're walking home at a time when everyone else is going to work, your nether regions feeling all kind of swampy and slightly sore. As you pass reflection after reflection of yourself on passing doors of buses and storefront glass, On car windows, you realize that you're pushing 50 in a few years, and all the little piggies you're playing with are at least 2 decades younger than you are, and you have no idea how they have no idea how you are broken, nor do you have any clue how they are broken. All you have in common is this cracked piggishness that in and of itself is admittedly undeniably delicious, but born from such different and divergent things. And then you think that maybe you have the answers, some answers at least, some stab at answering what's gone wrong, why it's all coming apart, all the what the hell's the matter questions. Not to say that your answers are in the ballpark of ever being correct, although they might be, but at the very least they're plausible and they draw connecting lines where no one had thought to before, and they suggest a possibility. But by this time, no one's listening, no one's asking you anymore. No one sees you anymore than a monster or a ghost, a lump in space and time, a problem, a workhorse, another one amongst the others. I would most certainly like to bend without fear of breaking, break without fear of judgment.